A recent survey revealed 1 in 5 women find romance in the workplace, reportedly due to the recession and working longer hours. I think it's been going on for a long time, though, office romance. It's a theme in the movie that we just saw the interview with Katherine Heigl called The Ugly Truth, and it starts next week. Here's a bit of a peek.
You already hired him?
Who's this delightful creature?
I'm your producer.
Hey. I like a woman on top.
Ooh, okay. Can a couple work it out and work together? We've got the 5 rules for a successful office romance. Our relationship psychologist, John Aiken, joins us. Oh, I could just see that was starting rough there.
I know. Little sexual chemistry between the two of them. Yeah.
Okay, the stats, I was just reading, let's have a look at some of the statistics of romance in the office. What, 19% of women have actually dated a colleague?
That's right. 16% women
are in a relationship.
I know.
I mean, as a psychologist, do you find that extraordinary when people come to you with this issue?
Well, I think absolutely. This is one of the common ways that people, meet their partner and fall in love, because when you're at work, you've got common interests often and shared values and the goals that you've got at work take you in a certain direction. So it's only natural that some of the people you meet you may well find you want to take a little further. And
I think about 32% of women had a crush on a colleague. I'm looking around. Probably look at the office in a whole new light now. But of course the risks, some of the risks are obvious.
Well, that's right. I mean, for starters, gossip can be pretty cruel once you start an office romance, and also you've got issues around, the policy. Are you actually allowed to have an office romance in the workplace? As well, favouritism could come up, and then you could start to argue and bring personal issues to work. So there's just a whole raft of things that can be problematic, and of course if you break up it could get ugly.
Well, in fact, there's a couple of issues in here. Olivia says, our email, I'm dating my boss, we've been seeing each other for 6 months. He hasn't revealed to anyone at work that we're seeing each other. He says he likes to keep work and relationships separate. Is this a sign that he's just not that into me?
Yeah, you'd need to explore that a little more, I think. I mean, when people are pretty secretive about the relationship, it could be that they're not actually wanting to take it that further forward. So, I would actually sit down and look at, maybe asking a couple of key questions around the future. Do you see, where do you see us in 6 months? And, are we able to introduce each other to our friends and family, that sort of stuff?
I guess that comes into the breakup. If you're going to have this office romance, you've got to discuss the breakup, which seems a bit negative, but it's practical.
Well, it is. It's a strange way to start a relationship, isn't it, when you're talking about the breakup? But the bottom line is that if you are working together and things don't go well, you need to have some dignity around that, and therefore you have to explore it before you go any further.
There are some rules to making it work, because let's face it, it's where we spend a lot of our time. If you're single, this is a nice thing to do, common interest. So let's look at a few ways to make it work well.
Yeah. Well, the first one is familiarise yourself with what's going on in the HR policy. Are you actually allowed in the workplace to have a relationship with one of your colleagues? Because in some organisations you're not. So check that out first and foremost, and just know where you stand.
And discussing the consequences and the breakup.
That's right. And so in terms of consequences, it may be, okay, what happens if we do break up? Is one of us going to have to leave work? But also, what will happen to the people around us once they find out? Are there going to be changes in the way they relate to us, and how do we handle that? So knowing the consequences.
And work rules. This is vitally
important. We're talking PDA, what sort of displays of affection you're going to engage in or not engage in, secretive emails, whether you touch each other in the workplace. Sit down and have some common expectations around that.
And comes under the office gossip, but what if you have an argument? The tension has got to be there.
Well, yes, and it's a really awkward situation when you are arguing in public at the office. So what you want to do is try and argue only in private and do your best to ignore gossip. And then finally, you want to make sure that you keep your work standards really high, because bottom line is if they start to drop away and you're having an office romance, the walls start to close in a bit.
Well, we just wanted to follow up on the ugly truth, and it can become the ugly truth. But John, thank you very much for your time.
Good to be here.
John Aiken, our psychologist. OK, we've got more coming up. We talked to Kenny Sutcliffe and see something of him that we haven't seen before. But right now, Jamie's found the perfect ladder.
The last time Paul Meyer was here with the Transformer ladder, I didn't get a word in. So why should today be any different? Good to see you, mate.
Hi, Jamie. How are you?
I'm good.
Well, we start off with a ladder that stores in only 1.4 metres of space. Solves the problem. You've got to store